Hi everyone, and welcome to part 4 of my 2020 Crossing Newfoundland by ATV video series. Just a quick reminder, I'm combining 2 trips into this year's video series from July and September. This is day 4 for both trips, and in July we went from Deer Lake to Howley, then the Gaff topsail, before we backtracked all the way to Cloudy Pond for a total distance of about 160 kilometers, which is 100 miles. In September, we traveled from Hawke's Bay to Deer Lake, and then we also continued on to Cloudy Pond for a total distance of about 295 kilometers, which is about 185 miles. That was a long but fun day. Let's get to it. After spending the night at the Driftwood Inn, we got up early the next morning. We were packing up our machines to get ready to hit the trail, and we were kind of discussing on where we were going to go today. We knew we were going to end up in Cloudy Pond, but we didn't know how far east we were going to go before we turned around and came back. I wanted to show the guys Howley and the Gaff topsail, so I was hoping to make it that far at least. Right now we're on the rail bed, and it's kind of a little rough in some spots, like potholes and stuff, but not a big deal. And then one of our first spots for the day that we stopped at was the big dam outside of Deer Lake. For the July trip, everybody was new with the exception of Bruce and myself, so this was kind of nice to be able to go through and take guys through that have never done it before so they can stop and kind of take it all in at the different spots that we were at. It's time to get going and head on to the beaches at Howley. This area here in Howley, where the sand is called Howley Narrows, I believe. And this is where we were supposed to camp the night before, but because of the rain that happened, that hit us in Deer Lake, we didn't bother coming all the way out here to camp. But hopefully another year we will be able to get back out here and camp. It's fantastic camping on these sandy beaches out here and having campfires at night, and it's so quiet. And driving along here now towards the end of where we normally go is it's a lot of fun. It was a beautiful sunny day, but man, was it windy. And I'll tell you, the wind here had nothing on the Gaff topsail. A very short distance up the road from where we just were at the beaches is the Howley shopping center. This place has everything. I've said it before in other videos if you've seen me other years, and I call it a mini Walmart. They have gasoline and food and clothing and supplies and just tons of stuff. We came up upon a couple of guys on the trail that were going pretty slow, and we were wondering what was going on until we realized they were just out stopping every now and then, and they were picking up old railway spikes and putting them in boxes. How awesome is that, that you have a couple of guys like this that are out volunteering their own time to just go out and do that for people. That's the view of the Gaff topsail from the backside on the trail, and it doesn't look all that high up from here, but it's 1,800 feet up, and it's a steep, slow going trek, but it's pretty easy. You could do it in two-wheel drive, no problem.
A tower up here, eh?
Yeah, I want the radio tower.
There's a great big shaft right here.
Yeah, the military have a radio tower of some sort. Yes, you know Route East
Right across the street, over East.
The new guys loved the Gaff topsail. And the good thing about being up so high, there's actually good cell coverage up here. People were FaceTiming and sending pictures out to Facebook. Believe it or not, I actually have been on the Gaff topsail when it wasn't very windy. Pictures and videos just don't do so much of this trip any justice. You have to come here and see it in person to get the full effect. The Gaff topsail, for example, here is so beautiful when you're up there walking around, and the experience of walking on the top of the rocks up there, moving around and getting pictures and just looking at the valley below is just, it's really, really something to see. And you can't get a feel for it here in these videos and pictures. We barbecued up some hot dogs and sausages, and we get back on the trail, and we drove about 15 or 20 kilometers or so until we came to a bridge with a nice river running underneath it, and we stopped there. And here's a video of us going on that. It's a time lapse taken with the GoPro, and it's going all the way down the Gaff topsail and down the trail. It's over a minute long, so I won't show you the whole thing, but you get the idea. After we left the bridge, we started heading back towards Deer Lake, and my brother-in-law had never driven a side-by-side before, so I let him drive for a while, and if those of you who watched my part 1 episode, you saw that I bent my tie rod, and it was pulling to one side a bit, and he was having a bit of difficulty, it seemed, with the wheel pulling a little bit, and I just thought it was because of the tie rod, but it turns out we had a flat in the back and didn't realize, so we drove for I don't know how long with a flat tire before we finally noticed that it was just the back end was too squirrely. And we didn't just have a flat. That tire was totally ruined and totally shredded. We had to put a spare tire on it. It's a good thing that Bruce and I both carry spares. I carry a spare front and Bruce carries the back tire, so I ended up borrowing his back tire for the rest of the trip, and it worked just fine.
I just needed a regular rim, and it's and actually that rim, yeah, no, it's still problems too. Tighten them up when you get on the ground. Well, riding it on it for a flat for a while.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, that looks like it's been pinched too. But still. Maybe we'll camp on Howley Beach yet?
We got back on the trail, we made good time to Deer Lake, we got supplies for a few days for Cloudy Pond, and we finally made it before dark, and man, we love this spot. If you're doing this trip, you got to come over here, man, and you got to spend the night. Now, I noticed that it's for sale right now, so I don't know, maybe if anybody buys it in the next few months, they won't rent it out anymore, which would be a shame, because it's just a wonderful place to stay with a great view of a lake and mountains nearby.
Start cooking.
We got Nova Scotia game, so here we got some deer mixed in with a little bit of bear. Sausage, onion sausage. Is that there? Deer. Deer?
Good.
Yeah, I had a pack of deer bear sausage and tuna after I cooked it up.
We taught the new guys how to play our favorite card game and had a pretty good evening. And then the next day we weren't ATVing anywhere. We like Cloudy Pond so much we decided to just have a down day there and have no ATV riding and just hang around the camp and the lake that's right there. Let's switch over to the September crew and see how their day went. It was a chilly morning up in Hawke's Bay. The heated seat came in handy, and we went through the drive-thru of a local Robin's Donut store to get some coffee before we hit the trail. Actually, we were just drinking it on the trail, I think as we were driving, most of us with our helmets flipped up. If ever there was a benefit of a side-by-side over an ATV, that's definitely one. We knew we were going to drive almost 300 kilometers on this day, so we drove quite a ways before our first stop even, because we wanted to make sure we put a lot of miles behind us. My brother-in-law brought a 360-degree camera with him and took lots of shots throughout this trip in September, and I hope to get some of those shots from him at some time, and I'll upload them onto Facebook and maybe YouTube as well. Getting to drive on this transmission line on a road this fun with an ATV or side-by-side is totally a bucket list thing to do, and I'm so glad I had the chance to do it. A few Newfoundlanders I was talking to while we were doing this trip had joked I think sort of half jokingly that they said that this was the most expensive ATV trail in the world, and I think they're probably right.
Oh, Jesus. What is this?
See it? About $500.
The fellas started to get hungry, myself included, and it was almost lunchtime, or maybe a little after, and we just went across this bridge, and this was just a perfect place for us to kind of pull down in and go for a break to barbecue lunch.
You know what I don't have? A spatula. I got tongs there.
I got a fork. It's almost like a spatula, but a big plastic fork.
Oh yeah?
That works for flipping birds together.
We finally got to Deer Lake, and we got there a little later than we were hoping to, but we got there still in daylight hours. We got a pile of food to last us a few days for our stay at Cloudy Pond for a few nights, and we got there just before dark, which was great. It's not the end of the world if we get in after dark. We've done that before. We all have really bright LED headlights, but it's just a lot nicer to get to where you're going before dark for a few reasons. One is there's a lot of animals, big animals in Newfoundland, and they start to come out at dusk or just after dark on the trails. If you have any breakdowns, it's a lot easier to fix them in the day. And also, we were going to a really nice spot, so we wanted to be able to have at least a view of the lake and the mountains before the sunset. And we did. We got there. Bruce threw up his drone and got some fantastic video here, as you can see. God, I love it here. It is so beautiful. Go to my website, crossingnewfoundlandbyatv.com, and read everything you need to know to be able to plan this trip for yourselves. If this is on your bucket list, make it happen. Life's too short. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you liked what you saw, please click the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss any videos. Stay tuned for part 5, where both groups spend a whole day in the Cloudy Pond area.